Well, I tell you what, I've seen some parking in my time. I mean, look at the state of that. This is B&Q in Carlisle. It's got like 5 foot at the back of that. Probably sticking out. I've got to turn round it. Jesus, man. I just can't understand the driving in this city sometimes. What is wrong with people? Cheeky. Alright, just wait. I'll be good and let these good people cross over. There we go. I don't mind when they wave and say thanks. It's when they didn't wave you feel like running them over. Obviously, in case there's any snowflakes out there. I'm only joking, of course I won't be running them over.
Leaving the public broadcaster with a decision to make over the future of Gary Lineker. The show's time host, whether Lineker is there or not, to me is a side issue. Match of the day itself, you still have an appetite for it.
Yeah,
Why?
Because I think it's a decent program. You know, I've made my observations about Lineker in the past and about his behaviour in March, where I felt that he'd stepped across the line as far as BBC conduct was concerned, but they've dealt with that issue. And I do think he's paid too much money for the job that he's doing. But that's football. Football pays a lot of money for sometimes for not getting enormous value for it. But it's a legacy show. It has value. It'll have a different value to the BBC than it will have to ITV. ITV will look at it as a commercial product in isolation, whereas BBC have a stable of products, and Match of the Day is one of these iconic ones. So
It's still a legacy show.
Well, I absolutely, I think it's still a legacy show. I
In
still
what
think,
way?
because I think if you think of the BBC, if you think of sports related to the BBC, ask yourself to name some iconic shows that the BBC have, and most people that have a persuasion towards sport say Match of the Day. So it has a legacy that the BBC have to probably embrace and wrap their arms around.
I don't think of the BBC now, not because I'm wearing my old Sky hat.
Take the old university or something.
Sky would grab hold of the golf in the way that who would have thought that Sky would grab hold of Premier League football in the way that they ITV Channel 4 and Channel 5 report that the product is no longer commercially viable for them because of falling viewing figures and a difficult advertising market. In other words,
They judge it by
people
different
are queued
standards.
up.
But they judge it
Maybe
by
as they once did to watch Match of the Day.
But they judge it by different set of
To
standards.
formulate.
And some people will say.
Well, at least Dagenham streets open again, thank goodness.
Jesus, Jim, look at the tripe that we listen to on Sky from some of these 12-year-olds that know nothing about nothing, but they're given an audience because of the next generation of influencers. You think
Nice
that's
new
good?
road surface.
Well, that's not because I'm a 50-year-old man. It's because I know what good looks like, and that ain't it.
Look at that.
Match of the Day comes on.
Spanking brand new for all the gas board, electricity board, water companies to come and dig it up like hell.
Premier League
And
goal
you
elsewhere.
can say that about a variety of things.
I bet you they do before the year's over.
People that are commenting on it. I watch it on Saturday evening. Sometimes I watch it on Sunday mornings. People might think it's easy for me to pick up a cudgel because I don't particularly admire Gary Lineker and some of his views. But let's call it for fair.
Just
I
said you
didn't
like him.
No, I don't. I've never particularly liked him. I never liked him when I met him 20 years ago at a Millwall game. I thought he was a pompous smarts. But that's a different discussion. The point is, in this instance, I think he's a decent presenter. I think he does a decent job. And I think looking at it in this.
There are plenty of decent presenters out there. It
Sure.
doesn't have to be him.
But then I don't know who would replace Gary Lineker in a match. We're having an
what?
argument.
Are you kidding me?
Well, let me finish the point.
Any
we're having an argument about whether it's commercially viable to broadcasters that have a different economic model than the BBC. And some people would say, well, it's a fair argument because the BBC shouldn't be funded by taxpayer money anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, he's have to pick that machine up, I think.
Whether I like some of the BBC content, whether I agree with some of the principles of it, is a different discussion. In isolation,
A tarmac machine, I would say.
the BBC still has around the world of broadcasting, and one of them is its positioning in certain aspects of sport. And I think Match of the Day still has an economic value to BBC when it sells its products around the world and wraps other products through its own BBC sales units. And I think that it's a silly argument because it's got ITV. Well, did you want Good Morning Britain with Piers Morgan on BBC then? Because that was an audience that the ITV.
Terrible junction to get out of this. Gotta be so careful.
BBC. It's horses for courses.
Yeah.
Commercial models are commercial models. I don't think that there's any necessity, besides perhaps paying a ridiculous salary for what he's actually doing with Lineker, to actually say that the content, when you're listening to Martin Keown, or you're listening to Danny Murphy, or you're listening to Alan Shearer, you're listening to those guys, I let them sit there and I'm very critical.
Leaves just about off now.
Not bad at all.
Especially the guys that you just mentioned, Martin Keown.
Council have got their job to get all the leaves up.
Back in the day when they didn't turn up for work because they were supporting St. Garage.
Yeah.
The point is that broadcasting quality, I think is good. I think it's good. I think it's sustainable. I think it's substantial. I think it's far better than some of the
Still relevant.
listening to us new old employers.
Still relevant. But ITV Channel 4 and Channel 5 concluded the product is not commercially viable for them. Because of falling viewing figures.
But for their
But you'll
models.
still watch it. But many people have decided it's not for me.
But for their models, their economic models that wrap around advertising around it.
Yeah.
Again, I go back to the
Yeah.
focus argument. If you want to talk to me about that, I'll say that's
Yeah. The thing about Match of the Day is the only thing you don't watch it for is a breaking story, isn't it? Breaking news story. When are you ever going to hear?
No, but that's the journalist.
breaking news.
But that's the journalist in you.
That's like Match of the Day you watch because when will they get to the Villa game? When will they get to the Liverpool game? When will they get? And that's Match of the Day.
And to something, some would say there's
you've already seen the
there's
goals before.
value in cornerstone broadcasting, in traditions, and I think Match of the Day is a decent product. Does it compare to the bells and whistles and some of